Hey everybody, my name is Spencer, and in this video sponsored by Solar Flare Games, I'm going to give you a preview of the game Quests, Heroes of Sorcado, designed by Dave Killingsworth. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the game in its current state and how it works. Now do note that the images you see are digital renderings of what the game might look like. Nothing at this stage is final. Something else that is not final is the number of subscribers to this YouTube channel. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the Lighten Up initiative and like this video, even if you don't actually like it. Let's continue! Quests Heroes of Sorcado is a campaign story game for 1 to 6 players that one might even call epic. It's made up of 8 adventures in which players will develop characters, gain spells and weapons, defeat monsters, and even make narrative decisions that will impact the direction of the story. The story, written by D.W. Vogel, is one of darkness and light that takes place in a fantasy world of adventure. When all is said and done, and the game is published, that story will be over 60 pages long with over 140 pages of additional story events and choices. In fact, there's so much content in the box that the final game will weigh over 7 pounds, about the weight of my record deadlift. What all is in that box? Well, loads of cards, paper, and cardboard, which make up a pretty fun game. Now, I'm not going to go over every rule or component in the game. I'm just going to highlight the things I enjoy most, and that will help you make an informed decision. In Quests Heroes of Sorcado, players take on the roles of 6 adventurers. It's important for me to note that when you play the game, you always play with all 6 heroes. Playing solo, well, you control 6 characters, which means you'll have to manage potions and weapons and health for each separate hero. For what it's worth, I played the demo campaign solo and didn't find it difficult to keep up with everything. Playing with more people is ideal, I think, if for nothing else than to have a shared experience. However, if you would be playing this game at lower player counts, you'll still have the same experience as a larger group would. Now when you play, the characters are arranged on the table ideally in some form of circle. Order matters, and I'll get to why here in just a bit. But first, here's how an adventure goes down. You'll begin by reading the introductory story for the current adventure. Then you are instructed to play a location. There are 6 possible locations you'll visit in any given adventure: coast, wilderness, ruins, city, mountains, and dungeon. To visit a location, you'll deal 1 card face down from the specified location deck to each hero. Players will then take turns resolving the card dealt to them. It may be a trap, story moment, event, or monster. The important thing to note is that each hero will always fight a monster. If the card dealt is not a monster, they'll resolve it and then draw and resolve cards from the location deck until a monster is revealed. Let's fight some monsters! Now here's where the order of the heroes matters. Sort of. You see, depending on the difficulty of the monster, the active hero may need other players to join in the battle, and participating heroes are selected based on the position in relation to the hero fighting the monster. For example, a level 3 monster requires that 3 heroes fight it together. So the primary hero and only the 2 adjacent heroes will participate in the fight. I enjoy this neat adjacency fighting thing. It's kind of restrictive, but it also creates this puzzle of how do we work together to fight this monster with what we've got? We can't get that guy's help. He's too far away or lazy or whatever. So let's look at our strengths, weaknesses, and equipment and figure out the best way to defeat the monster. I will point out that once you've done your calculating and planning, the final step in fighting a monster is rolling a d20. It makes sure that there's still a little bit of unknown in the fight. You can't always win. I mean, you may trip over your leather shoe straps and fall into a puddle of mud or something like that. But the monster won't just go away if you lose. It moves on to the next hero in clockwise order, only to be fought again. If all heroes lose all their health, the game is over and they must begin again. But if all the cards for the locations have been resolved, the players will then consult the storybook and read the corresponding passages, which will then guide the players into the next phase of their adventure. The game will continue this way until a boss is revealed. Not that boss, this boss, or one like it. Players must fight it with some modified rules, including this one. If a single player is knocked out, the adventure is lost and the players must start over. However, by this point, you'll have played enough to where you have gathered potions, equipment, etc. Hopefully you'll be prepared enough. Whether you win or lose, there will be a corresponding passage in the storybook to read that will explain what in the heck just happened and what is coming up next. Eventually, if you're any good, you'll make it through all 8 adventures and find yourself facing down the boss's boss. No, not that guy. So essentially, that is Quests Heroes of Sorcado. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that, but that's the basic structure. Don't forget that there's a ton of story weaving all of the action together. And then there are those story moments that will impact the narrative one way or another. In what I've experienced so far, I find that the balance between gameplay and story is just right. The story exists to move the action along and make what you are doing in the game interesting, but there isn't too much that it gets in the way or slows down the pace. It's very well written. The text is so evocative, I can really picture what is happening in my mind. plus the touches of humor help too. A few other game elements worth mentioning. As with many other games, your heroes can only carry a certain number of equipment and treasure cards. Instead of dropping cards altogether when you reach your capacity, there's a shared treasure pool where members of the party can store their treasure. Then any of the other heroes may equip that treasure. It's a neat way to be efficient when passing around treasure. I think my favorite character in the game is not the rogue or the ranger. It's Philippe the peddler! Look at him, he's so peddler looking. At certain points of the game, players will be able to trade the loot tokens they've acquired for helpful services, like disease cures, healing potions, curse removal, and if necessary, a full service heal. Now, even though I haven't seen a finished product, or even a prototype, what I see on the screen is very promising. I like the art direction of the game, and it really helps you visualize the true epicness of what is going on in the game. It's a tremendous amount of content, and if the full game is anything compared to this demo adventure, I think a lot of folks are really going to enjoy their experiences with Quest's Heroes of Sorcado. And that, my friends, is how you write a script for a Kickstarter preview. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about the gameplay or anything I mentioned in the video, or just a friendly word to share, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below the video. I'll get to them as soon as I can. Make sure you check out Quest Heroes of Sorcado on Kickstarter if you haven't already. There's a link to the campaign page in the description of this video. Until next time, don't take the board game hobby too seriously, just lighten up.